Chris, you've gotten so much better on not saying something as soon as I hit the transition.
I'm learning the tools of the trade, the tricks of the trade.
Yeah,
I'm
that media
what is it,
coaching.
working on my craft.
On your craft.
Working on my craft.
Oh, look at that. Look at that segue. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Alternative Blacks podcast, the live version on YouTube. This has been our main feature for a while right now, as we are getting ready to do some new things. We have a fire under our ass for certain reasons. But today,
Yes.
we have a couple different conversations. One of the first ones is going to be from the Kansas City Chiefs kicker, or whatever the fuck position he is. The
Butker.
issue with this is I have such a hard time having this conversation because I keep forgetting this man's name.
Harrison Butker.
But that's how irrelevant this person is to me. But that's neither here nor there. We'll talk about that later. We'll also talk about the fallout, the fall off of this Drake Kendrick beef, and then we'll take a little look at upcoming beer festival Made on America that is on America Street, which is where Punch Buggy is, and Fish. Well, I guess that's Southern Kensington. I don't know how to describe all these areas, but maybe we'll get into some Kensington conversations too.
Yeah, why not?
Why not?
It's all right here on Alternative Blacks Live.
But before we get into any of that, what are you drinking?
I am drinking today Storm the Field. And this is actually a collaboration, which I didn't realize until I looked at the can.
Is that Conchi?
This is actually Anti-Fragile Brewing, Sworn Brewing, and Warwick Farms. So it's a four-fer.
We got to get you to Warwick. Warwick Farms is a nice little location.
Yeah, definitely. It's got to be better than the Warwick over here. This is a West Coast double IPA, which is really what drew my attention. Trogue's West Coast IPA, I'm all for it. This one has Azaka, Chinook, Citra, Nectaron hops. And I'm trying to find the ABV on this. Are people just not putting ABVs on things anymore? Is that like a thing now? I feel like I'm seeing less and less ABVs on cans.
And you know what? That is a little intimidating. especially when you're going to reach for like an IPA or a double IPA, and you're like, I don't know if I can do this without knowing what I'm
Yeah,
getting into.
it's 9.2%. Thanks, Untapped. So we're gonna have a grand old time.
Grand time. Have you tried it yet? What is your
It
thoughts?
is. It's nice. I will hold out judgment. I was hoping it would punch a little harder, but I will hold out judgment because I have been dealing with a little case of the sinus pressure, and
Mm-hmm.
so I'm just going to assume that I can't get the full breadth of the flavor. I'm definitely not getting any of the aromatics currently because of my state. So I'm gonna hold off
Okay, that's
on
fair.
judging this too hard or like too what's the word? Too hard nose about it.
Mm-hmm.
It tastes good.
I
I
was gonna
mean,
say what.
it's definitely good from what I got. It's got the West Coast piney, crisp uh flavor. As you can see, it's nice and what's the word? Clear, fairly clear. Good color, good color. So
Nice Keller.
I'll give it a 4 right now.
Nice.
Good.
That's solid.
What do you
Um,
drink?
I am drinking. It's called Beer. It's this nice
Zygon?
Beer. It's a nice Helles lager, sitting around 7%, just under that, 6.9%.
That's
Um,
7%.
yeah, it's Beer is our Hellesbach lager, which has a sweet malt
Ah,
aroma and a light toasted flavor, which comes in at 6.9% with a great amber color. And great amber color is
oh yes.
correct. It is gorgeous. This has become our go-to beer when it's on at Punch Buggy. We
Okay.
love Punch Buggy. One of our favorite spots. I think you and I make the comment that we lived maybe 5 minutes away from Other Half when we were on Second Street, and maybe a good 10-minute walk, if not more, from Punch Buggy. And we
It's
took
at
you to
least
Punch.
double the
Yeah, and
distance.
we took you to Punch Buggy before we took you to Other Half. So.
This is true. And more often.
Mhm.
I've spoken a few times. I've at least walked by it a couple of times.
Yeah, and it's one
So
of our favorites. This beer is nice. It has that sweetness to a Helles, which is very interesting. Um, not so much on the crisp, but on the sweeter element of a Helles lager. But still a wonderful beer. Um, yeah, definitely my go-to. And they're just
you
good
said it's
people.
called Zygon beer.
Beer. It has the goat on it, so there goes your Bach beer, as always, with the little goat
Always. I need to look up this
iconography.
Zygon.
What happened?
I need to look into this Zygon.
Yeah.
This seems like a perfect if there's any way to insert a Bach into anything, that's what I want to do. We need to insert Bachs into more things.
Yeah. Bach is the way to go for sure. Sorry, I'm sharing the wealth down here. Thank you.
Oh yeah, because you have the stash right now.
I do. Got the stash. What do you need
So
keys to open a can
what
for?
do you rate this?
Um,
Because you've had it before.
I wonder if I've actually rated it on Untapped, because
That's what I'm trying to find right now.
I always feel like I uh I have two different judgments and have two different frames of mind when drinking these beers.
4.75
You sure do.
Yeah, someone put 4. That was
Who's
Al.
someone?
And that was
Just a random person?
looks like it was Al. I don't know who this is actually.
Is it just called Zygon beer?
Beer, yeah, from Punch
Okay.
Buggy. So I'm gonna give this, I think, a 4.5. It's fantastic beer. It is on the sweeter side, and I think that's where I'm a little lost on it. But it is absolutely fantastic.
Just found it. Doesn't look like you checked it in.
No, I didn't.
But see, like the sweetness is obviously like coming from the Bach
Hmm.
aspect, and that's interesting with a Helles.
Right, because I don't normally think of Helles as like a sweeter beer, but the Bock, as you're saying, that and that amber maltiness obviously leans towards it, and it's not bad. It's just
Different.
different. Yeah, best way to say it. Different.
It's the expectation aspect, right? Like if you went in wanting a Helles, it's hot, it's balmy. You just want like a nice crisp Helles, and you walk in and get that beer, you might be a little disappointed. But if you're just looking to try a beer and have no expectation, I could see that being like definitely a winner. Like I said, put a Bach in any style of lager, and I'm all for it.
Yeah, definitely agree there. Sorry, I'm like playing around with the menu here. Just getting all
Mr. Techie over here.
discombobulated. Um, no, that's great. Do you want to get into the sample game right away?
Yeah, let's hit up the sample quick. I think this is an apt sample for our current times.
Okay.
Um, that being said, I don't know that you'll get it because it is kind of a deep cut, but you'll see why I chose it once you know what the song is.
Kendrick.
Um, maybe, maybe not. So the the sample the sample comes from the 1982 Spider-Man cartoon, season 1, episode 7. And I'm not going to say the name of the episode because I think that would kind of give away who it is. But I'm just going to play it and we'll go from there. Let's see what you can hear. And we're loading. There we go.
With but a touch of my finger, I detonate an explosion in Greenland.
Is it Tyler the
Do we
Creator?
have no? Although that's not a bad guess. You want to stay in that alt lane, that like undergroundy type of sound lane.
So honestly, I went one because of the sound, but two because of I was thinking more of like you know how he was always like Goblin, you know. So I
Yeah,
wasn't
so
sure if
it's
that, and then MF Doom would come to mind too next as a potential option for the sample.
this is MF Doom.
Yeah, there we go. I
This is
was gonna
MF
say
Doom.
MF Doom first, but I was like, that's too on the nose. But yep, that makes sense.
So this is MF Doom. This is from Food. This is the opening track. And if you don't know a lot about like the way he does did his albums, is like it's all based on Doctor Doom
Yeah,
from the Marvel comics. And he's and usually all there's all these samples from cartoons and comic adaptations in his stuff. So this is literally so the sample audio that I played is actually it's called Canon of Doom is the name of the episode.
there
So
we
it's
go.
literally like his Doctor Doom's backstory where he's fighting Spider-Man. And so here is the actual song, and like the entire episode's audio is played throughout up until this point,
Mm,
but this is kind of where the actual song begins, and
okay.
you'll be able to hear the beat.
Watch him. I have special plans for that one.
Beef rap can lead to getting teeth capped or even a reef from armed dudes on some grief crap. I suggest a change of diet. It can lead to high blood pressure if you fry it, or even a stroke, heart attack, heart disease. It ain't no starting back once arteries start to squeeze. Take the easy way out, phony. Until then, they know they wouldn't be talking that baloney in the bullpen.
And so this is called Beef Rap, is the name of the song.
I see why you chose it too. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And it's obviously it's from Food, so all of the songs are like named after food or food adjacent things,
Mhm.
and beef rap. So it's literally a song about people about beefs, spilling over and going too far and that type of thing, but relating it to food.
That makes a lot of
So
sense, especially when you're talking about arteries and cholesterol
yeah,
and beef and everything. That would make a lot of sense.
yeah. So like I thought that was a fun one, considering the last like week and a half or so of recent events.
No, that was a great one. I don't know why. MF Doom is somebody I need to like explore more.
Yes, I 100% agree. I he's one of those guys that's like it's kind of like beer, right? Like it's an acquired taste in a sense for certain things where you have to kind of get to that wavelength with him, and once you're there, then you can appreciate it.
I feel like I will get like on a Wu-Tang click like groove, and then I think
Yeah,
that will be like the divergent like because I mean
right.
I walk half an hour to work, right? I can easily just like put on some MF Doom and just like really dive into it. It's just a
Yeah.
matter of like how I'm feeling that day.
The thing I love about MF Doom is like he's funny.
Yeah.
He's just hilarious. Like the things he says is hilarious. Obviously, he's being like ridiculous because he's supposed to be this like cartoon supervillain. So everything he says is just ridiculous, but it's not more ridiculous than like a lot of like braggadocious rap, but because of like the paradigm that he's attacking it from, he can say more ridiculous things and it just sounds normal because of the fact that he's supposed to be this like comic book villain.
Right.
So plus he has one of the greatest song titles of all time, One Beer, off of the same album, where he does where he does a cover of I Get a Kick Out of You. You know the song I Get a Kick Out of You, but it's I Get a Kick Out of Brew.
Nice.
So just just you gotta give him a try, man.
All
Just
right.
hilarious, entertaining.
By next live, I will have consumed some Doom.
Yeah, just consume food
Yeah.
because I feel like that's like the easiest one
Okay.
for me at least to get into. Um, food first, and then you can kind of jump around.
Because you've done a couple of Doom samples, and every time I love the beat, and it feels like a lane that I should be into that I just haven't explored.
Yeah,
So
you just gotta dive in, man. Just dive in. There's a whole world of doom out there.
let the Doom consume you.
Yes, yes. Let the doom let the doom consume you.
Speaking of Doom, this is a great time to transition into the first topic for today.
Oh, you're watching Dune? No, I'm sorry.
Now, this Harrison Butker conversation.
Ah, yes, Doom to a life of sorry, I'll let you
Servitude.
intro. Yeah.
Is essentially what he wants for all women. And it's not far fetched to say that, and we'll get into that a little later. We'll do a brief explanation of this. So I guess Harrison Butker's been the punter for the Kansas City Chiefs for the last 7 years, I believe. He spent his whole career,
Something like that, yeah.
yeah, whole career at Kansas City. So that means he has 2 rings. I also think he has a couple dinks off the poles in very clutch moments, but not going to talk about that. No,
All right now.
I'm just kind of making shit up at this point. So
Just talking talk shit.
so he has a very conservative viewpoint. He's very religious, and with that, he gets asked to speak. He actually speaks twice in recent in this year. He speaks a couple of weeks ago at his alma mater of Georgia Tech, where he gives a very light version of what he says. This past speech
Okay.
at
So it
what
was
was this
diet
called? Valentine Saint Basilica? I don't know.
something like that. Although I can see why in the second speech then because of where it was. Perhaps he felt a little
So
more
he went
free
from
to.
Georgia Tech, and very much like women should be at home, to really doubling down and doing a 20-minute like speech, which is kind of long. But anyway, so this college is very famous as a very conservative Catholic private college. I believe the acceptance rate into this college is something of like 99%, and the graduation rate is something of 64%.
Oh boy.
Which is an interesting stat note alone. But he essentially goes to put in a very, critique on a lot of things that are happening in life, calls DEI tyrannical, like basically calls it, it's tyranny is what I think he alludes to it being. He's very anti pro-choice, says that we are in horrible leadership under Biden, and we see the fallout that happens being under that. But the main thing that he went on to have a conversation about was that the women in the audience that were graduating had been diabolically lied to, and that are you sure that all of them are sitting there with dreams of promotions and being in higher management and success in business, and that they will only truly find happiness when they find the vocation of being a homemaker and a mother, and that his wife has found the greatest calling to life when she started her vocation as a homemaker.
Yeah, trust me. That's what she said.
Right. And it just doesn't get better from there. I think he even goes on to say, I forget what he called Pride Month. He basically called it a deadly sin. One of the it basically was just like you're going to die because you're gay. It was jaw dropping to say the least. I will say the reason why I didn't really bring this to our attention, Hannah definitely was the one that threw it into the mix, and simply because, again, this Harrison Butker, who the fuck is he? He's this guy on Kansas City who I really don't care about, this white bearded guy.
Again, he kicks balls for a living, so he's clearly the guy who should be on the compass.
Oh, he was talking about masculinity too. I forgot about that. We'll get to that much later. But honestly, I had seen it pop up, but I had scrolled by it because I'm looking at this bearded white guy, and I was just like, I don't give a fuck what this guy has to say.
Yeah, it's just he's a copy paste white guy.
Mm-hmm. But I would love to get your takes on this because I have many thoughts and feelings, but I would love to hear some from you.
Questions, thoughts, insults.
I forget. That was 7th grade math, right?
Is that Miss? Who was that? Oh my gosh!
Isn't it horrible?
It was questions, thoughts, comments, insults.
Right, and if you have insults, keep them to yourself.
Yeah. Well, I have thoughts.
Yep.
We'll start with thoughts. It is something to kind of say with the fact that he felt less inclined to do it at a place like Georgia Tech, and then he goes to a place where he can kind of just go full. And it is conservative, yes. I would say it's more traditionalistic in that sense, and I guess in that sense, then it is socially conservative, right? Because you want to conserve the traditional values. But that being said, it's this is getting way back traditionalistic. This is it's weird to be at, and I know nothing about the college either, so I don't even know what's offered at the college in terms of an education. or a type of education, and what types of things that they actually push in those classes and what types of ideas they push in those classes, because that's a whole thing in itself as well when you talk about an institution that is based in like religion and traditional values like that. Um, that aside, it's weird to you as a student worked so hard for 4 years, maybe longer. Maybe you're a graduate student there doing whatever. So now that's like a minimum 6 years, right? Say you worked so hard, you paid all of this money to get to this point, and now you're sitting there for 20 minutes listening to some dude who kicks a football for a living that isn't an alumnus of your alma mater. He's just some dude because
From down the road.
his batshit speech aligns with like the board of trustees thoughts on things. And so you're sitting there 6 years in doing all of this hard work on something that you're really passionate about, and then you have, you know, Butker up there talking about, oh, well, you know, you did all of this and you're going to go out into the world and there's a schedule. They're going to hold you to standards. You don't want any of that. What you want is to sit your ass at home and listen to my standards,
right, and make
my
a
schedule,
sandwich.
what I want you to do, and just have kids. And then only then will you truly feel like you did something in this world. And it's just like, it's kind of laughable at this point. Like certainly building a family is something that is beneficial to your life if you want it to be,
Right.
but it's only a part of what can make you lead a fulfilling and successful life. And it doesn't have to be in there at all. And for a lot of people, it's not. Increasingly, our generation, it's not, or it's later in life because of the mess that the previous generations have left us with, and the way that the economy in our society has kind of moved things to a point where nothing is affordable anymore.
Like,
Yeah,
how
I
does
don't want to have a bunch of kids and then sit home and rely on one person to bring in all this money. And this is coming from a guy who's a millionaire because he's a professional athlete. Yeah, of course your wife's gonna feel real good if she can sit at home and be okay, but not everyone has a salary like that.
I did say to Hannah, I was like, you know what would really show him? If I stayed at home and was the homemaker.
Yeah. He wouldn't even know. He might explode.
Hannah wasn't for it, but I thought it was a great idea.
A really progressive idea, Tyler. I'm glad you thought.
No, it's crazy. It's like it's not even like sustainable for like the average person. The average person can't just sit home and be like, okay, bring the money in, and then what?
Even the above average person.
And then what?
At this point.
The way that he views masculinity too, I feel, from other things I've heard him say, how I don't think he could take the damage to his fragile ego if he came home not as a like punter, but was barely scraping by, wasn't getting the money to like put food on the table, do the bare necessities, like get these basic things done. And his wife, this homemaker, then was just like, hey, you need to bring home more bacon. You need to do better because you're not providing. He would not be able to handle that.
Yeah, and he also wouldn't be able to handle the slightly less forward approach if he came home not being able to provide enough. And she goes, we are struggling. I'm going to need to go get a job. But maybe I have a degree. I need to go put that degree to work like I was supposed to do
now
before all this. And I bet you his ego would probably be like, no, I'm the one who's supposed to be doing it. You know, I feel like even he would have an issue with that.
And so I think the other elephant in the room that really came to be here, like through this conversation, was, we saw. I'm not even gonna go to the easiest one first. I'll do like LeBron, Brittany Griner. Like I'll talk about all these celebrities that come out for Black Lives Matter, about police brutality, all these things. We're not even gonna even get to on the court or on the field yet. We're gonna talk about people that say these things outside, that have all these thoughts and feelings, and the ways in which they have asked for them to shut up and dribble the ball, to, what, if you don't like it, leave. He shouldn't be able to play in the NBA. He's just an athlete. He shouldn't be speaking on these matters. And then the elephant in the room really is Colin Kaepernick said much less and got blackballed from the fucking league.
Yeah.
He said nothing. He
Good
kneeled.
Point.
And that was enough to get him out of the league. I don't understand how this man is still even on a team. It's crazy to me.
Yeah. It comes back down to, like, I think football has, if you think, really basketball is the only one of, if we're thinking like of the major sports in America, the major team sports, you have, right, baseball, you have baseball, basketball, football, and hockey, right?
Right.
And I feel like the only like fan base that is kind of not on board with that type of stuff on a massive enough scale is the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
And that's more so maybe like the representation of the players being represented in the sport itself, and the way that it's popular in the inner city, and the way that it's popular in these communities that are more progressive.
A lot bigger of a say in that whole league as well.
Yeah, but like if you talk about football, you talk about hockey, even baseball still, and I feel like baseball's changing slowly as well. But still, like, you have, like, for a sport that's super traditionalistic, so you have these other three fan bases that are kind of like 20 years ago, it was far different. I feel like the NBA somehow was able to kind of push through that and much earlier, and the others are still further behind in that department. And maybe part of that is like the fact that, for all these other sports, like, the players don't have nearly as much power.
Yep.
And that's really maybe what it comes down to, and I think that that's a big reason here with the NFL is the fact that, like, how much money are they going to lose over, like, people will be outraged. How much money is Kansas City going to lose because he came out and said this, you know?
I know finally the NFL and the chief of, like, the vice president, chief of diversity and inclusion, whatever, like, came out and said, like, this is in no way is how the NFL views this. This is not what we stand for. We are going to continue to try to foster X, Y, and Z. I know there's a petition out there with like over 30,000 people who've already signed for him to be removed from the league. Fuck it, I'm one of them. I signed it. I was just like, fuck it, and that for me is on business. It's because I do still feel a type of way about Kaepernick, and so just on principle on that, and just because I think what concerns me about these kind of conversations too, and the rhetoric that gets thrown out is, I think for a lot of what he was saying, it definitely got to the pride part of it, like the gay pride and everything like that, and where he started to talk about that worried me, and that's what I really found troublesome, because I'll always backtrack it this way too. It's Trump decides that he's going to run for president, and he's saying all this ridiculous, wild-ass shit, and there's no way that this man can become president. And then he becomes president, and people become emboldened, and they double down on this. And you see a lot of hatred rise within the country. And it's not that it wasn't there. It's just they found a platform that they felt emboldened by, and that they could have a reason to do it. And it was scary. And you know, you go back even further with that, when it's gonna sound fucking cliche to bring it back to this, but when Hitler first started saying shit, like, everyone thought he was out of his fucking rocker. Everyone thought he was like, there's no way this man can go into power. There's no way like any of these ideals can get there. The Nazi Party was kind of a laughingstock back then, and then
they were a minority party, they were a fringe party, and then all of a sudden, you keep saying crazy shit, the crazies come out.
Right.
And
so,
then you're able to start dividing people, and eventually there are people who are kind of on the fence who go, oh, well, if they buy in just a little bit to lies and rhetoric, they'll be, okay, well, I'm just going to go over here because this aligns a little bit more, and they're doing that over there. And then soon it's just people following for the sake of following, or for the sake of their safety in some cases, like just, hey, it's safer to just be in the majority. I can get into the majority and just be there in the background. And all of that is what happens when people at the top allow these things, allow these ideas to spread, like you said, giving people a platform. When you're of a certain amount of influence, it really does matter, even if we all know you're lying and you're full of shit when you say, I don't condone this, blah, blah, blah. It's far more powerful when you don't condemn it, as we saw with, you know, Trump and David Duke. You see how they took the Charlottesville riots, right? Because he wouldn't condemn the extremists on that side and the racists on that side, and
like, oh,
they kind of go, oh, he's behind us, awesome. So it really is important for people at the top to condemn.
What I find is interesting,
it's contradicted, but and the NFL, I guess, did that in this case.
They condemned it. They didn't take any action. So it's like, oh, it's thoughts and prayers at this point, really. It's you know, no, but no action. And again, that's where, on principle, like, that's why I signed the petition again, because I was just like, again, you as an organization blackballed a man for not even saying shit, just by taking a fucking knee, and this was a fucking problem. And then this guy goes out and says like this crazy ass shit, which is very problematic, and nothing. Fine, whatever. That's not equality. That's not what you are essentially trying to stand for. So there's an issue here, and you're unwilling to address it.
Yeah. There's no fine there's nothing. There's no monetary fine. There's no type of punitive action for these types of things, breaking some type of diversity inclusion policy, equity policy. I'm sure there's plenty of policies that people can point to and teams can point to when they're pissed off at what a player did.
Yeah.
So the fact that they didn't in this case.
It's free speech until it's not free speech in the way that they want it. Because at the same time, he's talking about the free speech that allows him to say all of this stuff, while also condemning pride, but also saying how DEI is tyranny. I was like, how is DEI, which is promotion for freedom of expression?
It's because he doesn't like it, Tyler. That's literally it.
So
he doesn't like it, and it threatens his power structure in his mind. That's what it is.
And so
the power structure of him as a white man is is being challenged by diversity and inclusion.
He also wanted to talk about how Congress allowed teaching about those that punished Jesus, put him on the cross, and crucified him. About how teaching who did that could potentially send somebody to jail, because I don't even know what the fucking thing is.
How do you make that connect? I'm interested in how.
Yeah, I would love to see it. I would love to see it, and if it is true, which I'm not making the allegations to say that it's not true or whatever. But one, fucking separation of church and state, for one.
Well, that's not a thing, but anyway.
It's not. But it's like
the only thing that does is give mega churches tax breaks.
Exactly. It's like, so it shouldn't really be fucking talked about, but like whatever. Two, no mention about the shit that Florida is doing in terms of fucking erasing history altogether. So, like, if you want to talk about erasing history, but then you want to talk about erasing history,
mm-hmm.
you have to bring up both.
Florida's crazy, but once again, these types of like extreme ideas, they're unaware of how ridiculous they sound when you step outside and think logically for like half a second. Mm-hmm. It's only about us versus them. I don't think he can see the difference or the nuance. And it's not because he isn't smart enough. I think it's literally because he doesn't want to. You know what I mean? And it's like that classic, you can't convince someone of something when it's their job to not know it or something like that. You know what I mean? His entire world is based around the fact that it is this way, it should be this way.
You know where he's from?
I don't even know. No clue.
Sorry. Doorbell rang. Someone was looking for signatures for a block party for their kid. That's cute. Fucking do it. Like, block the street off. I don't give a shit. Sorry. Anyway, sorry, that was really cute. He's from Decatur. He's from Georgia.
But isn't that interesting? Isn't Decatur like, there's a part of it that's like the really like uppity part,
mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
So that makes complete sense.
Yeah, it was wild to me though, because like I'm like, oh, like, you really have to like, this sounds deep rooted as shit, because you're like a stone's throw from like Black Mecca. Like, what did I say to Hannah? I said he was 10 minutes away from dropping the hard R.
Yeah, pretty much.
He was 10 minutes away from dropping that hard R. If he would have been able to get that half an hour slot, it would have been something different entirely.
Yeah, he would have slipped right into the German accent. The beard would have kind of disintegrated, and just his mustache would have been left.
Was ist das?
He just puts the sleeve on.
Das ist Eigenbier.
Das ist Eigenbier. Speaking of beer, I need to get my second beer here while we regroup.
All right, let's do a little beer break.
Do a little beer break.
Beer break. Do 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 do. Sorry.
Was that like Twilight Zone there?
Behind the scary door.
The scary door.
I love Futurama. I'm glad it's back. I have to catch up.
Yes.
So to wrap this up too, I don't know if you saw this. So I guess Patrick Mahomes was on the Pat McAfee show a while back or something. And the conversation about Butker got brought up. I don't know for what reason, because this was before all this type of shit happened. But essentially what Mahomes said was just like, I don't talk to him all season. Like I say, like, maybe before the season, at the end of the season, have some like say something to him. But after, like, other than that, I don't say shit to him at all. And
wow, I did not see. I don't remember that because I feel like that'd be a bigger deal.
Right.
To
And so
have heard
like
of.
the thought process was like, oh, like not say anything to him because he, just has his shit together or stuff like that. I was like, but that's not how like sports work. Like that's not how a
Like
quarterback, leader of the team.
he's a good, yeah, I was saying if he's a good locker room guy, everyone's gonna be like, oh yeah, I love Butt.
It's a very
Like everyone
telling.
loves Justin Tucker, right? Like everyone loves Justin Tucker. Everyone's like hyped for Justin Tucker. You like the Eagles, like Jake Elliott. Everyone loves Jake Elliott.
It's very telling.
Yeah, like it is very telling. That's a great point, Tyler. Kudos, Tyler. Kudos.
Thank you. You can say whatever the fuck you want now. I got kudos from Chris. I'm done with this conversation. I got kudos.
I was actually, well, let's hit up these new beers because I am actually drinking a new beer, as you can see.
Me too.
Nice mug.
Thank you. I love it.
I'm in Love City with this one.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, that's where I got it. I am drinking right now a nasty, okay, here we go. Elder Pine, as you can tell. I have my sticker somewhere around here. I never put it, but that's a magnet.
No, it's a sticker.
Okay, yeah, my sticker, I don't even know. Oh, it's in my jacket. All right, whatever.
How many times do you go into a jacket and find the beer stickers? That's a very real question because it's.
I've done that twice this week. I have a Schnitz Creek one that I just randomly that I found from this weekend.
Creek one too, yeah.
And then I had the Elder Pine one, which was like a throwback one because that was from January.
Oh shit. Secrets. Sorry, everyone saw my doc.
Oh. This is it on a street? Sorry. This is the ESB from Elder Pine Bitter Geezer. So it's just an English style ESB. It works out because this was not refrigerated when I picked it up, and I was like, I don't know if this is going to be cold enough in time, but it's an English beer, so whatever.
Yeah, they like it warmer.
They like it warm. It's more traditional than normal. But I really like this one. As far as ESBs go, this is actually one of the more bitter ESBs I've ever had. But I really like this beer a lot. So had to jump on it.
Jump on it.
So, yeah. It's only 5.5%, which is real nice for a live. You know, as opposed to the 9.2%er that I started with.
Well, it's funny that you should mention that. I don't know
barley wine.
I don't know what the ABV on what I'm drinking is because it's.
Is it your barley wine?
It's my barley wine. Oh, I'm breaking the whole fucking thing. And when you go back, if you rewatch this, you'll see like I hit the dock button like 3 fucking times. I'm drinking.
You know what's crazy?
Wine.
I literally was in Bresky's. If you're in Harrisburg, go to Bresky's. They had a barley wine that I could have gotten in a crowler from Evergreen.
Oh.
I was close to getting it, but it was 14%. I was just like, I'm not going to survive.
No
that.
way.
I'm just going to hope that it's there next week, and I'll just get it.
Speaking of survival, let's transition to Drake and Kendrick.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
My transition was going to be, Harrison Butker's from Georgia, from Atlanta area. Well, as we just learned in the Kendrick Lamar and Drake beef, that Drake likes to colonize Atlanta. He's not a colleague.
So, okay, I think something that I didn't talk about during the original beefage, and I listened to
Don't say the word beef.
beefage. I listened to all of it now, right? Like I think at the time I didn't listen to a lot of the Drake stuff, and now I've listened to everything, right? And
Okay.
I think what was very interesting and very telling, especially on the Drake side of things, was like Kendrick was calling out shit that like everybody was like thinking, didn't like directly say. I don't feel like a lot of people like necessarily call Drake a culture vulture, which he 100% is. I don't think, you know, like they called him out on the funky shit. People have like shot around it, but like he finally said fuck it and shot at it. So I say kudos to Kendrick for that. Drake shit that he did, all he did was double down on the shit that Kendrick has been actually, you know, mature enough and man enough to like expose on his own and to talk about himself and to discuss
and get
his
it wrong
therapy.
too.
What?
Yeah, and get it wrong, by the way, too.
Yeah, and I was just like, okay, this is weird. This is odd. Like it was bad. And then like the only thing that Drake potentially had going for him is the corniest shit ever, which is, oh, I gave you fake information and you bid on it, like ha. So he just like doubled down on like he's a meme artist.
Right, but which is apparently coming out right now. It seems that he actually lied about that as well, and he just got caught with his pants down, and then turned around and just kind of lied about it to try to cover his ass about it. So, but more to come on that, I guess, in the future. But as far as this battle goes, you know, I think I am clearly a Drake hater from I'm an OG Drake hater, I could say. But I never really was able to articulate well enough why. It was always just more of like a feeling, if that made sense. And then to a point where it was like there is a very nuanced discussion to have around him and his career trajectory that I think is really important for us to talk about, because I feel like the early hate was an unwarranted hate that came from toxic masculinity, that came from you know, the type of oh, he's half white, he's half Jewish, and this type of prejudiced viewpoint that can lead to certain people, you know, being dismissive of him as an artist early on. And as I look back, obviously that's a thing
It's definitely
that needs to be wrestled with, right?
Yeah.
Like him before a certain point in his career, like the hate was really not all that warranted.
Yeah.
Like it might not be a cup of tea, but whatever.
I will also say back then he was also staying in his lane. Like he wasn't like bringing this like fake persona to it, which he like.
And that right there is why I said like before a certain point, because then there was a point where he decided to, and this is where I finally found the words for it. Drake now cosplays Black Americans and being an American. That's all it is. He at this point, culture vulture is like one of those, it is culture vulture, but culture vulture is just one of those like buzzword type things that gets thrown out and people could just say, oh, he's a culture vulture. But it's like, it's more than that. It's the fact that, you know, what does he do? He cosplays Black people. and he gets away with it because the industry is behind him because he makes them a lot of money. He's gotten, he's gotten connected with certain people where he can put on this fake persona. If you hear any stories about him as an actual person, he's not, none of all this tough guy stuff, that's all fake. That's all clearly fake. He's clearly not a good person because it seems as though there's a lot of things he does that you wouldn't want a good friend to do,
Right.
even a half decent acquaintance to do, right? And so like he's all of these things, in a weird way. You could see like it's almost like a villain origin story where you go, I see right here, this is the point where he chose his path
He chose evil.
based on all of like the it's not even a struggle, right? It's not struggle. He didn't struggle in his life.
He chose violence, but like a fake, like a facade of violence. Like he chose to be a
It's like the
something that he
worst
wasn't.
villain origin story.
Right.
It's not the villain origin story where he was like an orphan kid on the streets and then society beat him down, so he got this like extreme ideal and gained power. It's more like,
Did you ever watch The Incredibles?
yes.
Remember, oh boy, that's the main villain in The Incredibles. He wanted to be Mr. Incredible's sidekick so fucking bad, and nothing really happened to him other than Mr. Incredible saying like, "No, this is a danger. Stay the fuck out of this." And he took that as, well, now I have to kill everybody.
It's kind of that, right? Like there's no real hardship there. The only thing is like this like incel-y type of mentality of like the world is against me, even though it's not really, and I can't see, I can't just acknowledge the fact that, hey, like some of this is fairly unwarranted, some of this isn't cool, but also I need to acknowledge like what I am and what I am trying to be and understand that those two things are different, like fundamentally different, and just try to be myself a little bit more. I think the crazy thing is like, so Drake is obviously like he's famously like mixed, right?
Right.
And so is Logic, but that's just because he talks about it.
I'm biracial. I really need to.
If you didn't, I need to let you know this, Tyler, because I don't know if you knew, but Logic is biracial.
Okay, I'm gonna let you finish, right? I just want to say this too, though. I think you and I more so obviously have that I guess that compassion on that end of the like the biracial like shit from the unwarranted like shit that Drake might have been getting.
Oh no, I'm not having compassion. Compassion's a strong word.
It's a strong word.
Perspective.
Perspective. There we go. We have perspective. Compassion was lack of a better word. Perspective.
Perspective is the word.
And I never held that against them. Much of the same way that like I really don't hold that against like J. Cole, right? Like
Logic. And that was my next point.
Yeah, because Logic talks about it too much. Fuck that shit. I enjoy Logic, but God, it's annoying, and thankfully Hannah finds Logic as annoying as you do. So Logic doesn't get consumed a lot. But
this album was great, but then after that it got weird.
I enjoy Pop Drake when he's not trying to have this alter ego. I enjoy Drake for what Drake was, and Drake was this hit maker, and when it's nothing. And you also said you had a hard time articulating what the dislike was, but that's not true, because you have also articulated a dislike for Drake that you haven't mentioned yet today, but is also very valid point, is Drake also does this very conniving, and it's kind of what you see with him doing in these underage allegations as well, right? He has this weird way of saying like, oh, we need to treat you like a queen. Like, these people aren't treating you right. Yeah, now how, like, he switches this up. He has this like fake, like, I'm here
He's
for
a
the
fake nice
women,
guy.
but
Yeah.
like also a womanizer. Like, and it's a weird, and it's a
It's
very like red flag raising
yeah.
thing that he does, because he does it's not even from one song to the other, and you can't say it's like, oh well, he was doing this song, so he went this way, and then he says this shit in the same song, and it's just like,
Yeah. Here's my hot take. Here's my read on Drake. He is a guy or a kid, he was a kid who would have otherwise fallen into like hard into the incel lane had he not become successful enough to get women, but not because of his personality or because of his personal attributes, but because of his fame and money, which are things that aren't him. So he never grew up.
right.
Like I saw this thing, it's like Kendrick Lamar matured throughout his discography, where Drake just ages. Like
Yeah.
it's still the same thing from like So Far Gone, almost damn near. He's the same person. He's just older and with fake abs now and a beard. Like he never grew up, and I think that's also the thing is like as he ages, more and more people are going, this is kind of weird now. Like, it's kind of passable when you're 23, 25, but you're damn near 40 now, and your whole personality is like you're this 22-year-old. It's just like, where's the growth? Where's the maturity? There's plenty of people who are still able to be like the hit maker type of deal, but not be like that.
So it was very interesting because I was listening to, I love Today Explained, right? That's like one of my favorite podcasts. It's very, fact forward, like let's just like get this information out in like a 20-minute clip. And I listened to one of the first episodes that made me like, yeah, I actually feel uncomfortable by what you're saying, and not because the truth hurts, but it just they brought in someone from The Ringer to discuss the beef, and it was very Drake heavy on praise, and it was a weird vibe, and it just didn't feel like, no matter what they do, every time they tried to drop actual like facts and like this is actually what was happening, and then they would like cap it with like the Drake cherry on like why this Drake is this, and it was just like, oh, this is getting odd. And then so what they also tried to do when they were talking about some of the best rap beefs in all time, they talked about Nas and Jay-Z, and they likened Nas to Kendrick and Jay-Z to Drake. And so me being the Jay-Z fan too, was like, I understood the reasoning behind the capitalistic, like the money making side of Jay-Z. Understood that attempt. But even Jay-Z admitted faults and came out and used that and matured with himself as his music evolved and his discography continued. Jay-Z isn't trying to be a reasonable doubt Jay-Z anymore, while Drake is still trying to be best I ever had, but hood.
Yeah, see that's the difference right there. Is best I ever had is who Drake was. And he's trying to not be who he is.
He's trying to mask it, but it's the
Jay-Z,
same
like
shit.
Reasonable Doubt, Jay-Z was Jay-Z, but he's like, it's the same mindset that I had then, but I'm just tweaking it with wisdom that I've gained over the years.
And Drake
and
is
I'm
just
still
tweaking.
that guy.
Sorry.
And Drake is tweaking. And party's at the party, playing with his nose now. And Baca has a weird case. Why is he around?
Who?
Baca's got a weird case. Why is he around? I don't know. Do you know about this gentleman?
No.
So that was one of the lines on Kendrick's song on "Not Like Us."
Oh, that guy. The like he literally yeah. That's why he
Well,
did
yeah,
the
he
pedophile thing.
he did go to jail for assault, and he was also on trial for sex trafficking.
Right. No, that's why. No, sorry, sex offender.
Yeah,
That's why the sex offender with his house and all the
yeah.
sex offender dots on it.
So it's just like, you know, there's a lot of things that people are like, oh, well, they both lied or whatever. But it's like nothing right now. Like, okay, if you say the daughter thing was a lie, then you can't believe that Drake planted the fake info because it can't be both, right?
Right. It can either
Either
be a
Kendrick
lie or
really
false
believed it.
information.
Yeah,
It was either a false flag operation or it's true.
right. And that's the thing. There's nothing that's been like completely disproven yet that Kendrick has said. Like completely disproven. Whereas like with Drake, it's already proven that he lied about planting this info or whatever. The the only real angle he had was the domestic violence thing. And I don't even know that he has any information on that because he didn't divulge anything that wasn't already out there.
Right.
The only thing that's out there is some accusation of an incident like 10 years ago, and which turned out to have conflicting stories of whether he was even there when the incident happened.
Which is a big part of it.
It's hard to assault someone when you're not there.
Yeah. No, it's just
Being said,
it's messy.
I was gonna say, like, that being said, you're right, it's messy. This whole thing is messy. I do think that this whole thing is Drake got beat at his own game, and I don't think he knows how to handle that. And I think that's a big thing too, because he was being really trolly after he did the whole. We talked about it a couple weeks ago, like when he did the push-up song and then he did the AI
Okay, hold it.
weird.
Push-ups was whack as shit. Like that was a fucking horrible, horrible diss track. I'm sorry, because people like are toting that as like some like great shit. I just listened to it. It was just like it's not who he is. So he came off like awkward as shit on it. It was a subpar like song. I'm not even gonna sit here and say like Kendrick put out some of his best work. He didn't. Euphoria fucking slayed the whole thing. That's the crazy part to me. It's just that there's nothing else that Drake put out that comes even close to what Euphoria did. That was the craziest shit. But like I was looking at a lot of these other lists and shit like that too, and it's not even like this stuff is the best diss stuff to ever have come out either. And what makes it completely different from a lot of the other shit too is like you're talking about some of these earlier diss tracks and earlier songs, like go back to Ether, go back to Takeover, right? Go back to Hit 'Em Up, Who Shot You and shit like that. You actually had to wait for someone to put a fucking thing out for it to be like a real thing. This was just like I wake up and here's 3 more songs. And to me, that took away from it a little bit as well. It was a very interesting like dynamic, but at the same time too, it's just like you can't compare. What you're trying to compare are 2 vastly different things. It's like eventually, you can't talk about Oscar Robertson in the same breath as LeBron James anymore because it's just such a vastly different like game. And so while this stuff is happening here, I'm not going to look back at like Tupac and Biggie and like compare what beef's happening now to what beef's happening then. The only thing that I would compare it to was that I said things could potentially get fucking ugly and somebody got shot in front of Drake's house. That's it.
Yeah, which apparently had nothing to do with the back and forth.
Just shitty people.
Because once again, Drake is such a piece of shit that apparently that was something involving like the weekend, which is crazy. But that's neither here nor there. You are right in a sense, although I will say like it is the pressure of the public needing to have something right away that kind of causes this
That's
because
my
it took,
bias.
it did take it took Kendrick 3 weeks, less than it took Kendrick less than 3 weeks to respond, and it was like the end of the world that hadn't
Took
responded
that long.
yet.
Yeah.
Um, Whatever, But then I think the reason it got crazy like this is because Kendrick knows Drake is all about seizing a moment, social media, garnering the attention of the people. It doesn't matter what the track says, really. Is it a catchy track that his fans are going to like? And can I step all over the person who I'm battling? And so Kendrick played him at his own game
and beat him.
and beat him.
Not like
So you can't be mad at that. So
Kendrick beat him in every sense, and it was the craziest shit. Like it's hard to like the only thing that Drake had going for him is apparently a lie now, and how is this even a conversation still?
because I think this is a perfect way to like encapsulate the entire episode here. It goes back to Butker doing the butt. People that are so far gone. No, sorry. People that are on the extremes end of anything are going to read way too into things that support their case. They're going to overlook whether it's unintentional or whether it is intentional. They're going to overlook things that they don't want to see that are going to conflict with their idea. And that's what it comes down to. It's this polarizing thing. I just obviously I like to see Drake go down in flames in a glorious explosion or whatever. And for Kendrick to do that, that's awesome. But I'm just glad we got some good Kendrick music, and apparently we're getting an album soon. And yeah, on to the summer with a diss track that's like a club track, which is awesome.
Yes. Anyway.
Any hoodles.
These were two like really big conversation points. Like got me heated for two different reasons. So going over to this next one, which will be a lighter conversation, but actually more on brand, is the Made on American Street Festival. It's the 18th year, apparently. The Made on American Street Festival is back for our 18th year, hosted by Punch Buggy, Wissahickon, and Homebrewed Events. They'll have selected Philly's best beer, cider, spirits, and wine for a summer sipping and sampling festival between Master Street and Cecil B. Moore Avenue. Artists and makers from all around the city will be sharing their talents and crafts at our bustling local art market. Philly's most famous musicians will showcase a variety of musical genres on a main stage and acoustic stage. Local food trucks, restaurants, and cafes will be offering food for purchase. Our special VIP ticket guarantees early access to the festival, exclusive sampling and tasting offers, a one-of-a-kind tasting glass, special pours from North American street producers, and more. So we got the general mission, but here are the beverage vendors. Alia Ikata Meadery. I don't know that one. I definitely mispronounced it.
Did you fuck that up? I'm sorry.
Attic Brewing, Brewery Tech, Dock Street will be there, Fell to Earth, Gritty City, Hail and True, Human Robot, Liberty Grounds, Love City Brewing, Lucky Cat, Manatani Stillworks, Nico, New Liberty, Patio Brewing, Philadelphia Distilling, Punch Buggy, Stateside, Top Dog, Urban Village Brewing, Wissahickon Brewing, Sly Fox, Plowman Cider, Blondes and Brunettes. I don't know what that is. Brewery ARS, Lost Time Brewing, which is a very recent one. Two locals will be there. Odd Logic will be there. And Pagoda City will be there.
Ooh. Okay. That's a nice little lineup.
Yeah, get your ticket. Come over Saturday. Yeah, celebrate Hannah's graduation with us.
God, I don't know if I'll be physically well enough to do that. I also slipped and fell last week and like bruised my tailbone.
Yeah,
So
how are
I'm
you
like,
doing? Are you alive? Are you in a wheelchair?
no. Yeah. No. I'm good, but taking it super chill.
Yeah.
But no, this seems like a really cool list of beverage vendors here. What are your anticipations? What are you excited about for this festival?
So what I'm excited about is Wissahickon is a partner that's kind of leading off this event, and the reason why that's exciting is less about Wissahickon, but more about that Wissahickon is opening up a spot on that stretch that's right across from
Ooh.
it's where original 13 cider used to be, and which was a block over from Punch Buggy. So
Okay.
I think they'll be utilizing this as a big kickoff for that as well. So it just means another brewery in the area. I do think it's
Not
gonna be
enough.
really interesting. I think there's a lot of opportunity to talk to people during this that we kind of know, and kind of leveraging that just to get to know people a little better. Obviously, Dock Street know them pretty well. I want to try to get to know Attic a little more.
Yeah.
Yeah, Love City being there is going to always be fun. Two locals, it'll be great to see them. Pagoda City, I'm assuming John will be there, so that'll be cool. So I'm just really excited to see like how to approach a festival in a different way now. Yeah, so
Right.
I'm excited. It's kind of low key. It's very, I think it might have been like $35 each. Like it's pretty cheap.
But great area. Um, Great lineup, it seems, for the money. That's for the price seems really good.
Yeah. But that's pretty much all I had to say. I was like, I'm really excited about this, and
But yeah, let me know how that goes,
yeah,
how it
for
is.
sure.
Hopefully the weather holds
Yeah, give me
for it.
one more quick break. I'll be right back, and we'll wrap this up.
All right.
All right, we're back. And so I think before I ran to the bathroom, what I really wanted to get into with this, some of the food vendors we're looking at. I don't know what Babalouie Barbecue is. Happy Bites is who is in Punch Buggy now. Mom's is like this pierogi, like ravioli place near us. That's pretty fucking good. Mr. Burgers, the best in town. Sounds like I need to go visit Bob. Paper Mill Foods, don't know. Post Sandwich Joint will be there. And it'll be very hard for me not to try to get something from Post, but I feel like I should try something else out. Walkworks, World Fair Hospitality, and John DeMint's. What I think about this is it nice. It's tied game. It seems as if this is trying to be very local, very inclusive in that capacity. There are some red flags in terms of people that aren't participating in it, which is why I want to give like a really big kudos to Dock Street for being a part of this.
Okay.
But on the other hand of it too, I know how some of these festivals work, and a lot of these festivals you're actually paying to be there. You're not like just lucky enough to be a part of it. So I think at the other end of it is sometimes this stuff is just not affordable as a small brewery to do. This is why you're going to see places like Dock Street, Love City, you know? And sometimes you're going to see breweries be very selective of it. So like the ones that are going to be there, you might not see at places like Barrel and Flow. So it's just a new perspective. It's something to be like very conscious of. Why I'm excited about this is we have a fairly decent relationship with Punch Buggy. We were there actually. That's the beer that I got today. And you know it's always a very welcoming experience going into Punch Buggy. I love seeing them. So it will be very cool to support this initiative, but to see them in this type of capacity because they really don't leave the Philly area. And so I'm really excited for that. As Hannah, I don't know if you heard her yelling, this is her celebration for her like graduation. It'll be fun. It starts at 2 to 6. You know, we're just gonna eat like a really big breakfast. There's a big like yard sale, like sidewalk sale throughout Fishtown that day. So we're just gonna mosey through to get there, have a really good time, see a lot of really good people, and then go back home.
Sounds like a dream day.
All right.
Home, go to a thing, go home.
Yeah, perfect.
Most importantly, home.
Not even go to a thing, go to a beer thing.
Yeah, go to a beer thing, then go home.
No. But
no, it sounds like a really really awesome thing. It is one of those things where it's like things that get a little too big for themselves sometimes kind of lose that touch of, I don't know, that spark kind of thing, the hominess, maybe the community of it. So it seems like this is one of those things that will have that, and it's cool that it's kind of in an area too where it's like there's so much around there anyway. It just feels like it's in the middle of things without being too like overburdensome, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and like as it said, like Punch Buggy being one of the driving forces behind this, and it being one of the most unassuming like breweries that I've ever been to, like that's cool, you know.
Agreed. Definitely unassuming.
Yeah, so the more I think about Punch Buggy, the more I think we have a future with some episodes with them. I think we need to be sitting down with them more, because they present a different take on craft beer than I think is traditional, which is our original conversation, is traditional.
Way to bring it back around, Tyler, like that.
You know, I have that ability. No, with that being said, I think this was a really fun, interesting episode. I found myself having a lot of conversations this week with Hannah, and kind of always bringing it back to, you know, these conversations are important, especially when it comes to the podcast. And it's crazy how much beer can bleed into the rest of life, and how important, and how at a first glance it doesn't seem like things are that deep or that like that critical. Like when you think about the conversation that was happening with Harrison Butkus or whatever his name is, Buckers.
But sure.
Yeah, it doesn't seem too crazy at first glance, but the more you break it down, the more you think about it, the more implications that are there. It is very critical. It is something that's worth talking about. And you know, it's the same thing about how do you empower the bartenders? How do you empower the staff that have to witness something like that being said? Because what happens is, if I'm behind the bar, I hear this guy saying it, nobody else speaks up. So we have all these different, like, while the craft beer scene may look one certain way, the people that consume it are of much different backgrounds. And so to allow conversations like this to happen here, and then allow that to permeate through a bunch of different other like circles, is very dangerous. And to create a place that you're able to empower the staff to say, hey, this is like really what we stand on, and if somebody is speaking out of turn like this, and like then we know that's not what we stand for. Like Love City is a very good example of there's very clear boundaries, and if somebody were to be speaking like that, the bartenders would go up and they would say, hey, what you're saying has no place here. Reconsider what you're talking about. Maybe choose a different conversation. Otherwise, we're going to have to ask you to leave. And that's a very powerful thing, because it, one, makes them question why, and they can get bent out of shape and like whatever, and that's on them, because we didn't say you have to leave. We said reconsider. But everybody else sees that's not like acceptable. It's not what is being, you know, that's not the morals, the ethics, the you know, like that's not the quality of life that we're like looking for here. And it has no, hate has no place here. And that's essentially all that has to be said. It's just like, hey, what you're saying is harmful to other people, and we are an inclusive place. So
yeah, and we're exercising our power that we have to do something about it.
Yeah, and that's why I think craft beer is such an important like place, and is such an important like. I don't think we would do this just for like shits and giggles. Like we could just call each other, we could just meet up. Like I think the whole point of this conversation is the conversation you hear at the bar, which we have heard great conversations, we have heard horrific conversations, and I think it is really to just bring that to the forefront of craft beer, like the watering hole, right? Is a very key, very important, you know, thing in life. And because it brings all different walks of life together, it has a bigger responsibility than what we're seeing.
That's a great way to put it. Couldn't say it better myself. It's a place, it's the forum, you know, that's the original forum. People come to let off steam, to share ideas, to share thoughts on things. And so there is a responsibility there to basically cultivate the kind of place or the kind of atmosphere that you want in your establishment, you know. And because you have the power, if you don't, like back earlier to what we were saying about like Kaepernick in the NFL or Trump, you know, if you have the power and you decide to not do something about it with that power, you're basically aiding and abetting this person who is doing whatever this thing is.
Right.
If you're going to happen, then you're part of the problem too, right? So if you have the power, do something about it.
And that's all we
Boom.
really stand for. So
Yeah.
thank you so much, as always, for having this conversation with me. This was a lot of fun. I am very excited for us to start brewing.
Yes.
But it's crazy to me how quickly these conversations become something that feels like, you know, trending topic to something that I think has a much deeper meaning. So I do thank you for allowing this forum to exist.
I thank you for having this forum, to allowing this forum to exist. It's a good place to let off some steam,
Yeah.
let off some ideas, and hopefully we can create something off the back of this at some point.
Yeah. But until that time.
Peace.